Hello everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. So today is 20th June 2024 and in this current session we will be discussing about the India-US partnership on critical minerals, right? So that is also very important for a country like India to achieve supply chain resilience, right? India-US partnership on critical minerals, right? So in order to achieve self-sufficiency and in order to ensure supply chain resilience, it is very important that we need to have a robust partnership with like-minded countries like US, right? So as part of this India-US robust partnership, we will be cooperating on this critical minerals, both India and US. So if you remember, we have a partnership on ISET, right? An initiative which was jointly launched by India and US. So initiative on critical and emerging technologies. Initiative on critical and emerging technologies. So this particular initiative is aligned with India's growing partnership in critical minerals, and this critical minerals will ultimately ensure supply chain resilience for India, and along with supply chain resilience, we have also disproportionately dependent on China for our critical minerals. Critical minerals are sourced from countries like China and any other far off places. So instead of these countries, so we can significantly enhance our partnership and cooperation with USA with respect to the critical minerals. Now this is not just with respect to sourcing of critical minerals from USA, rather USA will help India in a number of fields, right? Technology, exploration of critical minerals within India, and joint exploration of these critical minerals, etc., right? So this will be the first article that we are going to discuss, and after that we have another very important article. Recently the central government announced minimum supporting prices. So we all knew that the minimum supporting prices are announced by the union government before the sowing season starts. Now this will be the Kharif sowing season or the Kharif sowing season about to start, because Kharif sowing season starts from June and ends around September or October. So therefore, owing to the beginning of this Kharif sowing season, the union government announced minimum support prices. Now in this context, we will understand what are the minimum support prices and why, what is the need for the minimum support prices, and how many crops are included in the minimum support prices, and what are the challenges with respect to the minimum support price. We will understand in a very detailed manner. And the third very important article is with respect to the innovation or recent innovation in the area of finding treatment to the sickle cell anemia. Okay, so treatment to sickle cell anemia is a new innovation that is actually developed, sickle cell anemia. So this will significantly addresses the disease of sickle cell anemia through a single cure method. And in fact, this particular innovation of treating the sickle cell anemia can be achieved through a method called gene therapy. Now in this context, we will understand what exactly is the sickle cell anemia and how this new innovative gene therapy method can actually help us address this sickle cell anemia also. And fourth, we have another very important article, that is recently Nalanda University was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So we all knew that this Nalanda University is one of the ancient cultural heritage and ancient university of India. So that was established by Kumar Gupta. So now recently this Nalanda University is again inaugurated by the union government. So we will understand what is this Nalanda University and what was its history, and how it has got disappeared, and what was its glory in the past. So we will understand everything with respect to this Nalanda University also in this lecture itself. Now proceeding on, yesterday I have given to you one practice question right? The question was, which of the following is the first ever Indian multinational air exercise? Right? Question is, which of the following is the first ever Indian multinational air exercise? The correct answer for this question is Taranga Shakti exercise. Taranga Shakti exercise is the correct answer for this question. Now look into this explanation for the practice question. So Indian Air Force's first multinational air exercise. Multinational air exercise in the sense that in this particular air exercise, multiple nations take part. So this is a multinational air exercise of Indian Air Force, which is known as Taranga Shakti 2024, and that will be held in August this year. And in fact, it is also expected that there will be around 10 countries which takes part in this Taranga Shakti 2024 exercise, and apart from that there will be a few other observers will also take part in Taranga Shakti 2024 exercise. Now when we look into the details of this exercise, so it is first ever Indian multinational air exercise. So understand, this is first ever Indian multinational air exercise, and in fact the plan is to invite all the friendly countries that we have, from whom Indian Air Force interacts regularly and has a certain degree of interoperability also, right? This interoperability between the forces of different countries is very, very important, right? So therefore it also achieves a certain degree of interoperability along with all other friendly air forces or friendly countries in the region. So Taranga Shakti was earlier planned to be held at the end of 2023, but it has got deferred, and this exercise is now scheduled to be held in 2 phases, and it will be held from August onwards this year. So therefore the correct answer for this question is option A, that is Taranga Shakti 2024. And let's proceed on to today's practice question. So today I have one more important practice question. So these type of questions are very often asked in UPSC examination. Consider the following countries. So Norway, Sweden, Russia, Denmark and Germany. How many of the above countries are bounding the Baltic Sea, right? So in 2024, UPSC asked a question about the countries which are actually bordering or sharing their borders with the North Sea, and this Baltic Sea is also very near to the Northern Sea. So therefore try to identify the countries which share their borders with the Baltic Sea. And without any delay, so let's proceed on to our discussion. And the first we will be discussing about the minimum support prices, right? So minimum support prices. So the news article is that Union Cabinet gives a go ahead to increase MSP for 14 Kharif crops, right? So if we can understand the context before understanding what is minimum support prices, the Union Cabinet Wednesday gave its nod for a minimum support price for paddy by 5.35%. So it essentially means that the minimum support price for paddy has been increased to 5.35% to 2,200 per quintal for the 2024-25 Kharif marketing season. So this year it is the price of rice has been increased to 5.35% to 2,300 rupees per quintal of rice. Now before actually proceeding into this, we will understand what is minimum support price. Now when I say minimum support price, it is a minimum price for any crop. Okay, so it is a minimum price for any crop, so that government considers as a remunerative price for farmers and hence deserving support. Okay, so that is the minimum support price, and in fact it is the price that the government agencies pay whenever they ready to procure a particular crop, right? Imagine that the government decided to procure paddy from the farmers, and before procuring paddy from the farmers, the government should agree to pay the minimum support price to 1 quintal of paddy, and then the government agencies can procure paddy. So therefore the price that the government pays to the farmers is known as minimum support price to procure the different crops. The MSP is the rate at which the government buys grains from the farmers, whether it is paddy, wheat or any other crop. So there were around 14 crops in this Kharif season. Now we will try to understand also what are those different crops. And in fact, in recent times, farmers have also been protesting that the minimum support price should be given a statutory status. As of now, the minimum support prices have no statutory status, but farmers have been demanding that MSP should be given statutory guarantee. And in fact, government fixes minimum support prices for around 23 crops. However, the government fixes, even though the government fixes minimum support price for 23 crops, though it is not legally bounded to pay these, even if open market rates for the said produce are ruling below their announced floor price. Okay, so there is no guarantee from the government side to procure food at this particular minimum support price. However, if it is guaranteed or if it is backed by a legislation, then it is the obligation on the part of the government to procure food grains at the fixed price under MSP regime. Now, so when we talk about the minimum support price, so minimum support price is a form of market intervention. Now imagine that I have 1 quintal of rice, right? So I have 1 quintal of rice, and now before actually sowing season starts, the government announced that 1 quintal of rice would be provided 2,300 rupees, right? So the government already fixed the price for procurement of rice. So imagine that in case market price is above this MSP announced by the government, that is 2,350 rupees or 2,300 or 2,400 rupees. So farmers can sell this produce in the open market because the prices which were announced, the prices which were already existed in the market are higher than the MSP announced by the government. But what if in the market, due to the bumper crop and bumper crop lead to the flooding of markets with the agriculture produce, right? Now in this case, what if the prices goes to 2,100 rupees in the market? Now the government should procure the 1 quintal of 1 quintal of rice by paying 2,300 rupees as it was earlier announced before the sowing season. Now this is the MSP concept. So MSP is a market intervention by the government, or market intervention by the government of India to ensure agricultural producers, right? So it will ensure agricultural producers against any sharp fall in farm prices. For example, if there are any sharp falls in the this price, okay, so of various crops, then the government will intervene in the market and try to stabilize the prices of these agricultural commodities. So in fact, the minimum support prices are announced by the government of India at the beginning of sowing season for certain crops on the basis of recommendations which are provided by a Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices. So this Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices is a commission which actually recommends MSP to the government, and once Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices recommended MSPs, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs accordingly will take a decision on the recommendations of Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, recommendations of Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, and this Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is headed by the Prime Minister. Now apart from that, so it also has certain other objectives. So the objectives of the MSP included support the farmers from distress sale. Now whenever the market prices coming down, so whenever the market prices are coming down, so in that case farmers would incur losses by selling their produce in the market even though there were lesser prices, because farmers also have to pay the debt, right? So even if they have taken any debt, first farmers have to pay the debt. So therefore in this case, what happens generally, it supports the farmers from the distress sale and procure food grains for the public distribution also. right? So in case of market price for the commodity falls below the announced minimum price, so due to the bumper crop. Now imagine that in case if there is a bumper crop production, right? So yes. So imagine that if there is a bumper crop production, now what happens in that case? So in case of a bumper crop production, for example, imagine that, you know, market is all about supply and demand. Okay, so supply and demand. Now, when we think about the market, imagine that there is a greater supply. There is a greater supply of food grains in the market, but there is a less demand. So less demand but greater supply. Now in this case, what happens? The prices would certainly come down. But on the other hand, in another scenario, imagine that there is a less supply, but the demand is the same. So less supply, the demand is the same. In that case also, the prices would remain high because of less supply of food grains. And whenever there is a less supply of food grains and prices are higher, it in fact benefit the farmers. How? Because the farmers would get better prices for their produce. So however, now after the harvesting, what happens after the crops are harvested? In India, due to poor storage facilities, all the harvested produce will flood the markets. So it starts flooding the markets. So once it starts flooding the markets, what happens? So supply has been gradually increased. So supply has been increased, but demand, so demand would be same maybe, but if supply increased, so accordingly the prices of the agriculture commodities will also significantly comes down, and that is where farmers would incur a lot of losses. However, so here the protection is provided by the government in terms of announcing MSP, the minimum support prices. So 2,300 rupees of minimum support price is announced. So even in case of there is a reduced prices in the market, the farmers can sell their produce in the procurement centers, or government agencies can procure these food grains by providing 2,300 rupees. However, this price, so MSP, is decided by the government. So especially Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs decides the MSP, but the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices actually recommends this MSP price to the government, especially the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and ultimately this particular committee will take a decision on MSP. However, whenever there is a bumper production and when glut in the market, the government agencies will purchase the entire quantity which is being offered by the farmers to the government agencies or to the government at already announced minimum support price. Now next, what are the major crops covered under the minimum support price? Right, so as I have already told you, when we talk about the Kharif season, during the Kharif season around 14 crops are covered under the minimum support price, but overall around 22 crops are being covered under the minimum support price. And along with that, a fair and remunerative price is also announced for the sugarcane, right? So 22 crops plus fair and remunerative price for sugarcane. Fair and remunerative price for sugarcane. So this is how crops are being covered. However, the mandated crops, 14 crops are Kharif season and 6 are Rabi crops and 2 other commercial crops. So in addition to the minimum support prices, Toria and dehusked coconuts are fixed on the basis of MSPs of the rapeseed and mustard and copra respectively. So these are the crops which are covered under the minimum support prices. Now, what is the need of minimum support price? So as I have already explained you a few things with respect to MSP and why MSP is being announced by the government. Now, what is the need for MSP? Now, in fact, MSP supports farmers through sales of their wares, right? So it protects farmers from the distress sale of the agriculture commodities or agri produce. Secondly, MSP helps the government procuring food grains for the public distribution system, and at the same time refilling the existing buffer stocks to supply food grains for the public distribution system. And apart from that, so it will also protect the farmers from changes in the market price. Imagine if the market prices comes down significantly, then this MSP will protect farmers by assuring them minimum support price for their produce. And along with that, it also makes sure that there is a sufficient supply of food grains available, which will aid in the fight against hunger. Because when the government started procuring food grains through the MSP and refilling its buffer stocks and distributing food grains to the public distribution system, the government will fight against hunger, malnutrition and poverty in the country. And apart from that, increased investment and the use of new farming techniques. Whenever the government announcing MSP on certain crops or increasing MSP on certain crops, what will happen? It incentivizes the farmers to produce those crops, and therefore it incentivizes farmers to remain engaged in the agriculture, and thereby ultimately ensuring adequate food security. And it also leads to the export of surplus food grains out of India, making India a food basket. However, when we briefly discuss about this news, recently the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved minimum support prices hike for all 14 Kharif crop season. Okay, so all 14 Kharif season crops. So this is in fact in alignment with the government's policy of keeping MSPs at least 1.5 times above the cost of production. Now imagine that there is 1 acre of land, and a farmer's cultivated paddy in his 1 acre of land, and the total cost of production for this 1 acre of land is around 30,000 rupees. Okay, so 30,000 rupees is the total cost of production for the farmer. However, the MSP should be around 45,000 rupees. So this essentially means that MSP, which is announced by the government, is 1.5 times above the cost of production here. And in fact, when we talk about the Kharif sowing season, so this particular Kharif sowing season begins in June with the onset of the southwest monsoon. With the onset of the southwest monsoon, the Kharif season actually starts in June, while crop marketing season for this Kharif season will run from October 2024 to September 2025. However, so MSP hike is likely to result in a total financial implication on the government at around 2 lakh crore, and about 35,000 crore higher than the previous season, because the government has decided to increase prices on the paddy. So earlier in 23-24, so 2,183 rupees were paid for the farmers for 1 quintal of rice. Now the price increased to 2,300 rupees. So again, so there were different crops which were covered under the MSP, so their prices have also increased. And apart from that, you can clearly see there were number of Kharif crops, Rabi crops and other crops which were actually covered under the MSP regime. Just pause the video and go through all these crops, because UPSC in the year 2018 has also asked about the minimum support prices, and therefore it is very important from the exam perspective. And after that, there is another important topic, so that is India-US working to scale up partnership on critical minerals. Now critical minerals are very important for any country, and especially an emerging economy like India. So critical minerals plays a very important role, because they are a very essential and crucial raw materials for the development of various technologies, and at the same time manufacturing of various tech-based products. Now we will briefly understand the context and then we'll proceed on to the main article. So India and US have been looking to quickly conclude a bilateral agreement on furthering or further giving impetus to the cooperation on critical minerals between the US Department of Commerce and Indian Ministry of Commerce and Industry and Ministry of Mines. So these are the agencies which will be involved between these two countries with respect to further enhancing the cooperation in the critical minerals. However, so specifically they have focused on few important minerals. They are graphite, gallium and germanium. So the focus would be mostly based on graphite, gallium and germanium as critical minerals. However, when we talk about this in July 2023, so India already released a list of 30 minerals which are very important and critical for the country. And apart from that, India has also been looking for the opportunities to acquire these critical mineral mines abroad, in addition to the expanding exploration within the country, right? So these 30 are essential minerals and they are critical minerals for India industry and technology and manufacturing of various tech-based products. So these 30 critical minerals are very important for our country. Now in this context, in order to further increase the supply or to achieve the reliable supply, what India has been planning to do, now India will explore these critical minerals within the country, and at the same time it will also acquire these critical mineral mines abroad. However, when we talk about the critical minerals or essential minerals, we already have a parliamentary legislation with this respect, Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957. So we have Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957, and this particular act was amended through Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Act of 2023 to facilitate access to these critical minerals, right? So critical minerals actually plays a very important role in emerging economies like India. When we talk about the critical minerals and their exploration, India already incorporated a joint venture company for the exploration of these critical minerals, and that particular joint venture company is known as Khanij Bidesh India Limited, or it is also known as KABIL. So just remember, KABIL is Khanij Bidesh India Limited. And in fact, this KABIL, a Khanij Bidesh India Limited, have equity contribution from 3 public sector enterprises. So these 3 public sector enterprises including National Aluminium Company Limited and Hindustan Copper Limited, Mineral Exploration Consultancy Limited. So these 3 public sector enterprises have contributed equity to the Khanij Bidesh India Limited. However, the overall objective of establishing Khanij Bidesh India Limited is to acquire critical mineral assets abroad and at the same time ensure consistent supply of these critical minerals to India's domestic market. We need to acquire critical minerals and at the same time explore critical minerals within the country, so that we can ensure a reliable supply of these critical minerals to Indian industry. So however, when we talk about these critical minerals, India's net import reliance on various countries. When we talk about lithium is a very important component in electric vehicle battery manufacturing. So we are 100% dependent on import for lithium. So we mostly dependent on Chile, Russia, China, Ireland and Belgium for our lithium source or lithium imports, and followed by cobalt. For cobalt we have dependent on China, Belgium, Netherlands, US and Japan. So similarly you can go through all these essential and critical minerals for India and its dependence on different countries. For example, this zirconium, graphite and also different other critical minerals. Germanium is also other important critical mineral, and India's dependence on these critical minerals from other countries. And in fact, this Khanij Bidesh India Limited is presently exploring opportunities for the acquisition of these critical mineral assets. Like now, critical mineral assets or critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt in Australia, Argentina and Chile. Now, in fact, these countries, Australia, Argentina and Chile, are very well known for the rich lithium and cobalt minerals. So therefore, Khanij Bidesh India Limited has been exploring opportunities to acquisition of the critical minerals of like lithium and cobalt from Australia, Argentina and Chile. Now when we talk about India-US partnership, so one of the aims will be promoting India's vital role in mineral security partnership. And in fact, such a crucial partnership will not just benefit India, but it will also benefit USA also, because now USA has been looking at India as the most important partner in the Indo-Pacific region. And at the same time, India has been disproportionately dependent on China for various imports. So therefore, supply chain resilience in the region will actually benefit both India and US. When we talk about the lithium and cobalt, critical minerals, they play a very important role in transforming or making a transition from the fossil fuels to the green energy resources, because co-investing, so both these countries co-investing in lithium source project in South America and rare earth metals deposits in Africa, what happens? So that will responsibly and sustainably diverse the critical mineral supply chains, and that will actually benefit both these countries as well. So next we have another very important article, so that is India actually eyes a breakthrough against the sickle cell anemia. Now sickle cell anemia is a genetic disease, and it is one of the most severe disease, especially among the scheduled tribe population. And we will understand what is the sickle cell anemia and what is the breakthrough that India has been eyeing to prevent this sickle cell anemia or to treat the sickle cell anemia. Now the context is that India is getting very close to developing a gene therapy for the sickle cell disease. So through this gene therapy, so we can treat this sickle cell disease. So sickle cell anemia is a genetic blood disorder. Genetic blood disorder in the sense that it actually inherits from one generation to another generation. So therefore, it is a genetic blood disorder with a very high levels of prevalence among the scheduled tribe population, according to the data from Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Now when we talk about the sickle cell anemia, what is this sickle cell anemia? Now in fact, as I have already told you, that this sickle cell anemia is a genetic inherited disorder. So genetic inherited disorder in the sense that it is passed on from one generation to another generation. Now whenever any individual has been impacted with the sickle cell anemia, the shape of the red blood cells, which actually plays a very important role in transportation of oxygen to various various body parts, the shape will actually changes in this sickle cell anemia. Now when the usual shape of the red blood cells is round and flexible, that you are seeing here. So round and flexible is the shape of the red blood cells. So whenever this the shape is round and very flexible, they can move very easily through the blood vessels throughout the body. However, when we talk about the sickle cell anemia, so the shape of the red blood cells changes from a round flexible shape to a sickle like shape. Okay, so red blood cells are actually shaped like a sickles or crescent moons that you are seeing here. So these sickles also become very rigid and very sticky in these blood vessels, and they actually slow or block the blood flow to the various body parts. Now slowing down the blood flow to various body parts essentially means that it also reduces or leads to the decline in the oxygen necessary for the different body parts or organs to undertake the different metabolic activities. So however, the current approach to treatment is to relieve pain. Now whenever we talk about the sickle cell anemia, the current approach which is widely followed is relieving pain, and at the same time to help prevent complications of the disease. In fact, if there are any complications, those complications will be prevented. However, newer treatments may cure people of the sickle cell anemia disease. Now whenever we talk about this particular news article that is given with respect to a breakthrough on the sickle cell anemia disease. Researchers are actually working to develop a gene therapy, and this gene therapy actually uses CRISPR-Cas9, and this CRISPR-Cas9 is a gene editing tool. And remember, this CRISPR-Cas9 was already asked in UPSC prelims examination, right? So whenever we talk about a gene therapy method, so there is a gene editing tool, so that edit genes at a selective areas within the genetic profile. So therefore this CRISPR-Cas9 is a gene editing tool. And the developing a gene therapy for the sickle cell anemia using this CRISPR-Cas9 has been part of India's mission to eradicate sickle cell disease by 2047. Now, in fact, India actually aimed at eliminating the sickle cell anemia disease by the year 2047. So therefore, developing such a gene therapy using this CRISPR-Cas9 technology is part of India's mission to eradicate sickle cell disease by 2047. And the technology had the potential to be a single dose cure for the blood disorders like sickle cell anemia. And in fact, if this breakthrough with respect to dealing with the sickle cell anemia actually becomes a successful, in fact it will be a single dose cure for the blood disorders like sickle cell anemia. And this mission to eradicate sickle cell disease by 2047 also conduct over 7 crore screenings among the vulnerable tribal populations across 17 states and union territories, of which around 3 crore screenings have been achieved so far as well. Now, this CRISPR-Cas9 is a gene editing tool, and it actually consists of an enzyme, and this enzyme behaves like a molecular scissors. So these molecular scissors actually help in cutting the DNA at the selective portions. So therefore, these enzymes within the CRISPR-Cas9 will actually act as a molecular scissors to cut the genes at different places, so which can be directed to cut the piece of DNA at a very precise locations, and after it cuts down the DNA at a very precise location, so this will then allow a guide RNA to insert the changed genetic code. The changed genetic code will be introduced to make sure that the sickle cell anemia is cured at the site of the sickle cell anemia will be cured once this changed genetic code is being inserted into the genetic profile of a individual, right? So in fact, it was very important to involve and coordinate with the ground level health workers. Now, whenever we think about the ground level health workers, ASHAs, Anganwadis and ANMs are known as ground level health workers, and therefore it is very important to coordinate and involve ASHAs, Anganwadi workers for the plans to be implemented properly to deal with the sickle cell anemia in India, and to at the same time eradicate the sickle cell anemia disease by 2047. So next very important article is Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Nalanda University campus in Bihar. Right now, Nalanda University is one of the ancient Indian university, and it is also a cultural heritage for India. Now, what is the context? The context is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday inaugurated a new campus of Nalanda University, an international university. So Nalanda University is not just an Indian university, but it is also an international university which is expected to attract students from different parts of the world. So therefore, it is a very close to the site of the ancient ruins of Nalanda at Rajgir in Bihar. So earlier there was also a Nalanda University at Rajgir that was constructed by the Gupta ruler Kumar Gupta. So therefore, after the Nalanda University was destroyed, so this Nalanda University was again found and it became an archaeological site. And after archaeological site taking inspiration from this Nalanda University, the ancient Nalanda University, the government of India decided to build a new university at the place of the old Nalanda University. Whenever we talk about this Nalanda University, so Nalanda stands for most ancient university on the Indian subcontinent. So it is the places of learning or the centers of learning in the Indian subcontinent, and it is one of the oldest university in the world as well. Now, whenever we talk about the establishment of founding so whenever we talk about the founder of the Nalanda University, it was founded by Kumaragupta of Gupta dynasty in Bihar, right? So the Nalanda University was founded by Kumaragupta of Gupta dynasty in Bihar in the early 5th century, and it flourished for around 600 years until the 12th century. So it was existed until the 12th century, so that essentially means 1100s. Okay, so but due to the Islamic invasions, the university was destroyed, and after this university was destroyed, now the Indian government has been planning to revive this ancient university. Now, during the era of Harshavardhan and Pala monarchs, it actually rose to its popularity, and it was a very famous university. And apart from that, it was also a center of learning, culture, and intellectual exchanges, and that had a profound impact on the development of Indian civilization over a period of centuries. And when we talk about the other details of the Nalanda University, so the Nalanda was a monastic establishment in the sense that it was primarily a place where monks, nuns lived, and they studied various subjects in the Nalanda University, and that is where we can call, that is why it is called as monastic establishment. And apart from that, it used to teach all major philosophies of Buddhism, because Nalanda University was essentially a Mahayana Buddhist site. Now, in fact, students at Nalanda were expected to follow a strict code of conduct. So strict code of conduct is very important for all the students who are part of this Nalanda University. And apart from that, there will be a strict entrance examination, and this entrance examination was also very strict, that around 20 to 25 students used to get admission in this Nalanda University. And in fact, it has attracted scholars from different parts of the world also. So therefore, students who are part of this Nalanda University follow a strict code of conduct, and they are required to participate in daily meditation and study sessions also. However, there were a number of subjects were taught in this Nalanda University. So they include medicine and Ayurveda, religion, Buddhism, mathematics, grammar, astronomy, Indian philosophy were the main subjects which were taught to the students at the Nalanda University. So who founded this Nalanda University? Kumaragupta of Gupta Empire founded this Nalanda University. However, this Nalanda University continued to be a center of great learning up till or until it has been destroyed in the 12th century AD in 1193 by the Turkish ruler Qutbuddin Aybak's general Bakhtiyar Khilji. So Bakhtiyar Khilji destroyed this ancient center of learning in 1193, and in fact this Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Khilji was the general of Qutbuddin Aybak. Now, after 6 centuries, the university was rediscovered again in 1812 by Scottish surveyor Francis Buchanan Hamilton, and later it was identified as a ancient university by Sir Alexander Cunningham in 1861. So in fact, we all knew that Chinese monk Huyan Sang, so Chinese monk or Chinese traveler Huyan Sang actually visited India during the reign of Harshavardhana, and Huyan Sang actually offered invaluable insights into the academic and architectural grandeur of the ancient Nalanda University. And apart from that, Nalanda University is also one of the UNESCO's World Heritage Site. So, in 2024 examination prelims, so it was asked about some monuments and which of the above are part of the UNESCO World Heritage list. So therefore, those things are also very important. You just have to go through them as well. So Nalanda University is a symbol of India's academic heritage and vibrant cultural exchanges. Now, when we talk about this modern Nalanda University, it was established through an act of parliament, because Indian Parliament passed Nalanda University Act of 2010 that led to the establishment of Nalanda University. And apart from a parliamentary legislation, so this particular legislation formed the basis for implementing the decisions which were taken at the second East Asia Summit. And remember, India is part of the second East Asia Summit, and earlier there was a decision that was taken in the second East Asia Summit that was held in Philippines 2007 for the establishment of a university as an international institution for the pursuit of intellectual, philosophical, historical and spiritual studies. Okay, so therefore in the second East Asia Summit, it was decided to establish a university, an institution, and accordingly an act was passed by the parliament in 2010 that established Nalanda University in present day Bihar. So therefore it is said that this Nalanda University actually represents the modern Nalanda University, actually a renaissance of the Nalanda University that was existing earlier. And it also shows India's potential to the world as a great center of learning. And Nalanda is not just a renaissance of India's past, but the heritage of many countries, and Asia is also linked to the Nalanda University, because remember, it has attracted scholars from different parts of the world. So therefore we hope and expect that this modern Nalanda University will also become a great center of learning, attracting students from different parts of the world. So that's it in this lecture, and thank you so much.